Welcome back to the Straw Hat Duo. I'm Charlie, and today we're going to be going over One Piece Chapter 1044, Warrior of Liberation. Last chapter, we left off with Luffy getting pummeled. There's a lot going on with all that. I believe I actually made a correct prediction in what the Devil Fruit was actually going to be, and we'll get into that in this chapter. But first, we'll start off with the cover page, which is Germa 66's Cold-Blooded Voyage, Volume 8. Mama's out at sea, let's start our research. It shows some of Big Mom's kids starting experiments on Niji and Yonji. I don't look too worried about it. They're just kind of sitting there. I mean, they're programmed not to have emotion, so makes sense. The first page of this chapter starts off with zoomed out view of Zunisha and the resounding pulse of Luffy. Just bum-bum, bum-bum, bum-bum. And you see somebody thinking, and it's obviously Luffy. He goes, what's happening? How can I still stand? I just lost, but I'm feeling like I'm having a blast. And he starts laughing. And then it shows Zunisha kind of zoomed in on his eye, which is no longer lit up. It shows, looks like Conqueror's Haki coming off of Luffy while he's laying down on the ground. It shows Momonosuke kind of looking shocked. Luffy is Joy Boy? Yamato's like, Zunisha said that? And we switch over to the Pleasure Hall, Right Brain Tower, where Sanji is. He kind of shoots up awake, panting. The girl who brought him there is like, Sir Pirate, you're awake. I don't know what it is about this chapter, but there's a lot of sirs going on in this chapter. I don't remember it in previous chapters. I don't know if it's just the translation I have or what. Sanji kind of looks shocked as he's panting and goes, Luffy? Then we cut over to the live floor where both Kid and Law notice Luffy kind of waking up. I'm not sure if this is just them sensing it off of Conqueror's Haki, if they're hearing the heartbeat, what's going on with this. There's got to be some sort of connection that they can feel it, because the thing is, at first I was thinking, okay, well maybe it's just people who are close to him that admire him. But then it shows Hio, who also notices it, which somewhat makes sense. He helped train with him, so sure, there's a bond there. But then it shows Marco, who notices Luffy, and Marco has to tell Nami and Kid, I don't remember her name, that can take over the Kaido's crew. They're sitting there crying, and Nami's like, Luffy's still alive? The girl's like, you gotta be alright. Alright, you okay, right, big bro? That tells me right there, it's not just people with a close connection that can notice that Luffy's there. Maybe it's the Conqueror's Haki, which in that case it would be somewhat of a foreshadowing maybe of G getting Conqueror's Haki. And at that point, I don't see why Momo would do it. I mean, Momo has the desire to be a king, so I guess eventually he could develop Conqueror's Haki. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just the development of Conqueror's Haki, or the potential to develop Conqueror's Haki that notice him. But anyways, back to the chapter. After that, we cut over to the Holy Land of Briswa, where the Gorosei are talking, and the Hall of Power in the Pangaea Castle. Gorosei are like, we sacrificed one of our best agents and enraged Kaido. Are we sure our priorities are straight? The other one goes, this may have been better than the alternative. It's imperative that we snuff out something this problematic. No matter the era, the world government has always failed to acquire the Gomu Gomu fruit, even after 800 years of trying. That just confirms that, they've been trying to get their hands on this fruit this entire time, which honestly I don't like, because that means they literally let him go at the Marineford War, for one. For two, they've had him in their grasp multiple times. They just never put in the effort to go after him. If they knew that this was the Gomu Gomu no Mi from back when Crocodile was attacked, all they had to do is send, an admiral. One admiral would have been able to take him in. That's either a massive oversight on their side or plot convenience. I mean, that bugs me a little bit, but that's besides the point. It doesn't take away from the story at all. And one of them says, it's almost like as if the fruit is evading us itself. One says, that's not impossible. All zone fruits have a will of their own, and this one carries the name of a god. After all, the Gomu Gomu fruit is really a mythical zone, the human fruit, model Nika. I'm almost positive in my last video I made almost that exact prediction, that it was a zone fruit that it was the human fruit model Nika. What if Luffy has the Hito Hito Nobu model Nika sun god? Well, I think I said sun god Nika, but I mean, still. They said it's the name of a god. Cuts back over to what seems to be Luffy, and he's in the dancing pose from Sky Island again. Just his hair looks more fluid, looks almost like fire. And then they say, and it also shows the doom da 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 from his heartbeat that sounds like a drum. Then they say its user's body gains the property of rubber in combat. They're supposedly only limited by their imagination, putting a smile on the faces far and wide. They are the embodiment of the warrior of liberation, which would explain why, the government wants to get their hands on it. They don't really want the liberation. Sun God Nika. Awakening exponentially strengthens their rubbery body, and they have even more freedom. It is allegedly the most ridiculous power in the world. We cut back over to the treasury and the second floor. Orochi goes, "Sorry, I really admired Oden. Think about what you're doing. It was all Kaido. He was using me. We could still run away together. Just remove these nails." And Hiyori's like, "You spat in the face of samurai you owed. Who would still believe you? My father kept his promise, did he not? He danced like a fool for 5 long years because he thought you and Kaido would honor the secret arrangement you made and free Wano. He never even told his own family. My father was a man who kept his word. He even still expected the same of you when you agreed to let them go, if he withstood boiling for an hour. While his body was being burned by the oil, despite all, he always smiled. I can't even fathom my father's suffering. I had to shoulder that burden alone, because the entire nation was your hostage." Then she has a little flashback of talking with Oden, and she's like, "Are you really okay with what everybody says about you?" And he's like, "Of course I am. It's because I have you guys." And Hiyori's like, "Really, I swear I'll always be there for you." Then Orochi kind of interrupts it and goes, "Oh yes, I've always said Oden was a great samurai. As Shogun, I can ensure his legacy is recognized. Your father..." And then Hiyori rips her mask off, throws it down, and says, "Hold your tongue, you miserable wench. I am Kozuki Hiyori." That scares Orochi. She goes, "I was always proud to carry my father's name, even when I was starving and covered in rags. You, on the other hand, never had a trace of honor. Every day you were Shogun was one day too many. And as each day passed, more and more lives were lost." Orochi's like, wait, stop. Don't do something you're going to regret. Seeking revenge is a dated ideology, Besides, killing me makes no difference. Kaido will still be unbeatable." And then the Tanjiro's little summon thing comes up. Just a little tiny flame of it, so it wasn't completely gone. Big Mom didn't quite rip it away. Comes up, shows itself to Orochi, and he goes, "Orochi-sama, I have failed." "Is that you, Tanjiro?" "This is as far as I go." And then Orochi's like, "Your timing is impeccable. This is the ideal stage for your final performance. Burn that woman to ash. Go on, take her." He starts laughing. "The failed revenge of a shrew 20 years in the making. A perfect title for this tragic comedy. Take a look, Hiyori. A Kozuki survivor should know that fortune favors the mighty." And it goes, "Orochi-sama." And Orochi's like, "That's the wrong way." And it starts burning him. Hiyori, she's crying, but she looks content. Like, the dawn will come. She's like, "Kanjuro, you idiot. Hiyori, save me. It burns." Hiyori's like, "The Kozuki clan always keeps its promises." Then you see a zoomed out picture of the Skull Dome. Just a very tiny picture of it, but it's got the drum beat. Then it shows Luffy, and he goes, "I feel like anything's possible now. I can keep fighting a bit longer. My heartbeat sounds funny. This is my peak. This is Gear 5th," which, Gear 5th, here it is. At this point, Kaido notices it as well. Kaido obviously has suckers hockey, so again, that could be what it was. My first initial thought when I was first seeing it is like, oh, people with the initial D. Well, no, there's the only person here that I know of that has the middle initial D is Law. And he noticed it, but that was the only one here that really has it. Kaido goes, "Hey, you guys." And then he kind of thinks to himself, looking a little shocked. He's like, "What the hell is that?" It's on the roof. And then the roof breaks apart where he came through. It crumbles a little bit more. Kaido's crew is like, hey, what's happening? Conqueror's Haki. Where's it coming from? And it seems to start to knock out most people in there. And then a giant fist reaches in through the roof, grabbing Kaido in the midsection, full hand around the dragon, like he's picking up a small snake, rips Kaido straight out of the from there, right back onto the roof. Chopper, Kid, and Law all look kind of shocked. Chopper's crying. He goes, Luffy? Kid's like, Straw Hat? And then you see a picture of Luffy's smile. The same smile as he ended the last chapter with. As he's pulling Kaido up through, we get some comedy. You've ever seen the Looney Tunes show where when like the ground disappears or they're taken somewhere real quick, their eyes pop out? They got the three eyes. The one set in, the one out here, and then the one way out here. It shows that as Kaido's ripped out into the roof. At this point, it also says yoink. Onomatopoeia for it. People are like, Kaido-san, and then it goes back up onto the roof. And you see Luffy, which the only thing I can explain is he looks like a cartoon who just got muscles. He makes that stance, and he's laughing. And then he goes, she, which is a different laugh for him. I think we've heard that laugh before. I don't remember who it was. I know Ishishi was the giant from Saul. Saul, I believe his name was. We haven't seen that laugh from Luffy before. Either way, Luffy just grabs a hold of Kaido, or keeps a hold of Kaido, and just starts spinning him. And you see the eyes just kind of popping out where he was, you know, the cartoon effect. Then Luffy grabs him and starts slamming him on either side of him. Finally, you know, crashes Kaido down and falls back panting and laughing. Kaido kind of sits up with the stars swirling him. It's a real Looney Tunes moment here. Shocked. And then he goes, Straw Hat, you're still alive. I'm grateful. And then uses a Boro breath at him. Luffy's still laying there laughing, you know, full belly laughing. And then he notices the Boro breath coming at him, and he goes, whoa, and his eyes pop out, you know, in the shocked, cartoonish sense. And he grabs a hold of the ground, turning it to rubber, pulling it up. And he does, like, he almost looks like Frankie in that panel. Honestly, like, body type and everything, he looks a lot like Frankie. Pulls the ground up and bounces the Boro breath back at Kaido. And he goes, go! And then he kind of sits back down laughing. And then we get the narrator says Gear 5 as Luffy's laughing. Kaido's like, sorry about idiot from before. I didn't want to win that way. And we see Luffy, full face and everything now. And his eyes, they look different. He's got this hollow circle and then the pupil in the center. His eyes look different than they ever have before. And his hair looks like goo. He goes, don't sweat it. Now let's finish this. And the narrator says, the battle reaches its finale. Next issue, color and cover spread. And that is the end of chapter 144. I enjoyed this chapter. I feel like they could have taken a break on this chapter instead of last chapter. That's just me as a consumer. This chapter leaves on much less of a cliffhanger, much less of what's going to happen next. At this point, you get the idea that Luffy's got it. He's got it in the bag. There's no question he's going to win. There was a lot of comedy in the chapter, which I feel kind of dampens the whole setting of Wano. Because Wano, it's very bleak, it's very dark. I mean, even Kaido's speech from last chapter, that, I mean, it's away from that a little bit. I enjoyed this chapter a ton, but the break between definitely helped with some of the contrast. It was a very different feeling chapter. There's a lot of hope, comedy, laughter in it, whereas last it was a lot of desperation. I definitely enjoyed this chapter. I can't say that enough. It was definitely a fun read. And when the spoilers came out, I was like, I was right. It's a zone fruit. Now, there was a lot of discussions I wanted to have with this revelation. Next week, I think we're going to try and put out a discussion video. Me and Shayna kind of having a little discussion about this chapter because she does the editing for me. She's not quite caught up. In fact, she's pretty far behind. She just finished up Skypiea. ironically is a good place for this chapter. We're going to try and get her caught up for regularly putting out videos as much as we have. That way we have a little bit more to go on. We will be returning to our comparison videos, a little break from that, and we need some content to break up from that because that requires a lot of concentration. We have to watch the 2 episodes, and then we have to figure out what chapters correspond to those episodes, and we have to compare them. It's time consuming, and it can be very easy to get burnt out. We're going to try to mix it up a little bit. We're going to try to get her caught up some arc reviews. So I believe we're putting out something about Skypiea here shortly, general overview of Skypiea, and we'll try and do that for each arc as she gets caught up. And once she gets caught up, obviously she'll more than likely be here with me during the chapter reviews. I have a little bit more discussions, theory videos, general stuff like that. You know, if you had a favorite part of this chapter, Gear 5th, sure, that stood out, but didn't stick as hard as, you know, the original Gear 4th stuck, or the original Gear 2nd stuck. It seemed like something he awakened to, Fruit Awakening, but it seemed more something that he didn't think he had. Luffy thought he was beat. That's the only thing that takes a little bit away from it for me. You know, this is something that he didn't think he could do, and that's kind of against Luffy's character. He thinks he could pretty much do anything. But yeah, let me know what you thought about this chapter in the comments below. Let us know if you want to see anything specific. Any questions about this chapter that you want to have a discussion about, let me know. See you in the next one. Bye.